I'm Subramanya Sharma, Subha for short. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Cleartrip, responsible for product strategy, marketing and analytics at Cleartrip. So I think back in 2006, I think when we looked at the travel industry itself, we thought it was broken. There was too much clutter, and from a consumer standpoint, we thought like some of the simple things like changing flights, doing cancellation, everything was like you had to make a call to the call center, or using payments was a pain. So I think a lot of these small things we thought was kind of broken, and we said we want to start a company which stood for the consumers and a simple kind of interface and a no-nonsense kind of user experience, right? That was kind of the reason, I think, one of the reasons which prompted us to start Cleartrip. I think if you look at our journey over the last 8 to 10 years, I think we've stood by our commitment to customers, right? We are very fanatical about the consumer and the customer experience, and what we roll out in terms of features or products, we want to fundamentally make a difference to the customers, right? So it might be small features, it might be big features, but at the end of the day, we always stand for the consumer. So we have kind of have had a history of firsts in terms of what we have kind of changed. If you look at changing flights, as simple as changing flights, which you had to call up the call center. Here you can do it online. We are the only ones across the globe as well to kind of do it. So we want to keep it simple for the consumer, but there's a whole lot of complexity that goes in the background in terms of mobile apps itself, storing cards and expressway, right? Back in 2010, we were the first company in India to kind of launch that feature where somebody could kind of put in a card, store in his profile name and finish a transaction under 30 seconds, right? And before mobile first became mobile first, we thought it from a consumer standpoint, and last minute hotels were going, inventory was perishable, so it was going off, and for the consumer there was a demand, so we kind of tried to match supply and demand, and last minute hotels in terms of pricing we introduced on the mobile app. So there's been consistently we've been innovating on the product and the consumer experience side. And off late, in the last 4-5 years, we have our focus has been mainly on mobile. Our apps have been recognized by Apple, by Google in terms of the best of 2014, for example. Across the globe, we were recognized as the best app from India in 2014, right? So I think consistently we've had a history of delivering to superior performance for consumers, and we'll stick to that premise throughout the course of our journey. As we've seen in the last 3 years for sure, India has taken to mobile, right, hugely, and we definitely want to see Cleartrip in every pocket, right? So that's kind of what inspires us day in and day out to make sure that we kind of take mobility to the next level, and Cleartrip is part of that revolution. We strongly believe in small teams. Our entire tech team, for example, is not more than 60-70 people, right? So, but yet in terms of with that kind of a team size, we want to change the world in terms of how travel happens, right? So which means there's a lot of prioritization, brutal in terms of figuring out what works best for the customers, and the best solutions kind of win and make it out to the market, right? So in that sense, small teams, and at the same time, we are always curious to try out new things. We are restless, so we are impatient. So we've not lost the charm of a startup, yet in terms of we are probably delivering 100% growth year on year, right? So it's a combination of growth and excitement and learning, right? There's one place where learning never stops, and learning always happens when you can work in small teams, right? So, and that's something that we strongly believe in. I think a personal trait which we've imbibed from people I worked with is connecting the dots. So there might be multiple conversations that you're involved in, but ability to kind of drain out what's kind of important, and you keep collecting the information, and someday these dots will connect, right? So I think connecting the dots is probably the trait that makes me super, as you guys put it. So come join Cleartrip and stay super.